Some folks invest their money in stocks and bonds. Others prefer gold. I prefer clothing. But why not invest in something that you can still enjoy and still make money on? David Dike of David Dike Fine Art is here to talk about Texas art and what a great investment it can be for you. Welcome, David. How are you?
Doing great, Courtney. Thanks.
Now, we were talking in the break, and one of the people that's with you said if you gave up a couple of your expensive pairs of shoes, you could invest in some art instead, and maybe that's a good idea for me. Maybe I need to get more into art, but I'm glad you're here. Tell me about some of these amazing pieces you've brought today.
Well, one of the earliest Texas artists that we have is Julian Onderdonk, and he lived from 1882 to 1922. Unfortunately, he passed away at a very young age of 40, but he was noted for his early Texas landscapes. He loved San Antonio, where he grew up. He went to New York for about 9 years, studied with William Merritt Chase, who was one of the great American Impressionists.
And this is one of his pieces right here in the middle.
This is a beautiful scene of the Caliche Hill, Caliche Road down in the San Antonio Hill Country. He did this one as well, the bluebonnets. Of course, our state flower. He loved painting the Texas bluebonnets. In fact, the Amon Carter Museum and the Dallas Museum have some of his paintings hanging.
Wow. Now, we talk about art as an investment, and I'm sure some people who maybe don't collect art are shaking their heads going, there's no way it's investment. Tell us how holding on to these pieces can help us and maybe help our pocketbook in the long run.
Well, all I can base it on is my track record. When I started my gallery in 1986, a little Julian Onderdonk like this was $5,000. Now it's $50,000. So over time, there's become a lot more interest in early Texas art.
And that's not in that long, in what, like 10, 15, or 15, 20 years?
Close to 30,
to go from, I was giving you a couple extra. But to go in 30 years from something to go from $5,000 to $50,000, that's a lot of money.
Right.
That's a substantial amount. Now walk me through some of these other pieces that you have available.
This is an artist named Everett Spruce. After World War II, some of these Texas artists were experimenting with a little more modern technique. You had Jackson Pollock in New York painting the drip paintings, and you had Elaine de Kooning. In Texas, you had artists like Everett Spruce, who was head of the art department at the University of Texas in Austin.
This is really cool.
This was very cutting edge in 1948, 1950. This was painted in 1951. It's called Black Cow, and it's very, very modern for that time frame.
I think this, I really like this,
great
and I
colors,
don't think I have
design.
really good taste in art.
In fact, the Amon Carter Museum is going to do a retrospective for Everett Spruce in 2 years. So these major museums are starting to really highlight these artists that represent a part of our history and our heritage.
I love that. Now, David, let's just say someone at home is watching and goes, I love that piece. I want to come pick that thing up. How much money are we going to have to shell out for a piece
Well, some
like
of these
this?
artists, like Spruce passed away in 2002. This particular painting is estimated in our auction at $8,000 to $12,000. But some of the other things that artists people can buy are lithographs, and these lithographs, this one of the Roadrunner was done in 1938, and of course these artists were doing these during the WPA movement. People weren't buying paintings, so they were interested in buying works on paper, and these lithographs in 1938, 39 were selling for $5 and $10. Now today, the lithographs are in the $500 to $1,500 range.
Wow. Now, you talk about a lot about artists who have passed and who are no longer with us, and that makes their art value go up, correct? I'm assuming.
If they were good during their lifetime, yes.
But you also highlight some really great pieces of living artists as well.
We do.
Tell me about this one.
Well, we get artists that come by the gallery all the time, and I see some that are very interesting and good, but Natalie Irwin, who's from Fort Worth, she studied art at SMU and then graduated with an art degree at TCU in Fort Worth. And she does something very unique. She uses a hot gun, and she sketches out all the images on this beechwood, that's a special type of beechwood.
Yeah, this is like a pretty substantial piece. I mean,
yes, and her family is in the ranching business. Her family was the Edwards family, the Edwards Ranch, and they're kind of like the Caruth family of Dallas. They live in Fort Worth and have ranches west of Fort Worth, and so she likes to document the history and the heritage of her family and also the history of the cattle industry. And these are also done from old photographs that she found in her family archives, and a lot of these photographs were taken at the turn of the century up to the 1920s and 30s.
Awesome. Now, if we want to see more of these pieces, tell us about where you're doing an art auction.
We have an art auction once a year. We started in 1996 doing auctions, and it was a way to kind of establish a barometer for value of some of these Texas artists. And we're having our annual sale this year, January the 25th at 1715 Market Center Boulevard.
Oh, I love it. Okay, great. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Okay, guys, you can swing by, like you said, that art auction that's happening January 25th. And, of course, we'll have more information about that on our website, which is thebroadcasttv.com. Okay, we'll be back for more broadcasts right after this.